The founders. Valve was founded in 1996 by former longtime Microsoft employees, Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington. Harrington once said, I quote, "At Microsoft you always wonder, is it me being successful or is it Microsoft? But with Half-Life I knew Gabe and I had built that product and company from scratch." Wanting to move on to a new venture using their shared wealth, they created the company we all know today as Valve. This eventful day took place in Kirkland, Washington, on August 24, 1996. This also happened to be Gabe Newell's wedding day. It's been stated that Gabe and Mike considered naming the company FRUITFLY Ensemble and Rhino Scar. In my opinion, I think they made the right choice by going with Valve. Valve's first product was Half-Life, a first-person shooter with elements of the horror genre. Little did we know that Half-Life would set a chain of events that would forever affect the gaming industry and open many opportunities for Valve. Gabe and Mike were inspired by a former co-worker named Michael Abrash. Abrash left Microsoft to work on the legendary computer game QUAKE. He was backed by the developer ID Software. Gabe and Mike used their connections to get access to the QUAKE engine. This would have a significant impact on the development of Half-Life. After struggling to find a publisher, Valve eventually signed a deal with Sierra Online, now known as Sierra Entertainment. After nearly 2 years of development, Half-Life was ready. Released in November 1998, the game was a critical and commercial success. The game received praise for its graphics, realistic gameplay, and seamless narrative. It won over 50 PC Game of the Year awards, and is considered one of the most influential FPS games, and one of the best video games ever made. This success would lay the foundation for Valve to become one of the most influential companies in the gaming industry. In 1998, Valve acquired TF Software, the group that made a popular Team Fortress mod for QUAKE. Valve remade the mod as Team Fortress Classic, releasing a year later in 1999. After much success, Valve decided to release a software development kit for Valve's modified QUAKE engine, named the Gold SRC engine. The development kit allowed numerous user-created mods. Some of these mods became so popular, the company decided to turn them into fully developed standalone games. And one of these mods was Counter-Strike. CS quickly became one of the most popular Half-Life mods, and Valve decided to hire the mod developers to create the standalone Counter-Strike game. CS would go on to be one of the most successful gaming IPs in history. CS was also one of the largest contributors that helped grow the online esports movement. Happy with the company's success, on January 15, 2000, Mike Harrington dissolved his partnership with Gabe and left Valve to spend time with his wife. According to Gabe, Mike did not want to risk another project after the success of Half-Life. Harrington returned to the software industry in 2006, when he co-founded Picnic. Picnic was acquired by Google in March 2010. Harrington went on to start and work on many other big projects. There have been no statements on whether Mike regrets leaving Valve. But nonetheless, he seems to be very successful and continues to be an entrepreneur to this day. After the success of Half-Life, Valve started working on the new Source engine, an improved version of the old Gold SRC engine. The new Source engine made its debut in June of 2004, with the release of Counter-Strike Source. Five months later, Half-Life 2 was released in November of 2004 on the new engine. Many more games and expansions were also created and released shortly after. Alongside developing games, Valve was also working on another project. That project was Steam. The company's role as a game developer had a significant impact on the gaming industry, but Steam quickly became Valve's most impactful development. Before implementing Steam, Valve had problems updating its online games. Providing patches would cause most of the online users to disconnect for several days. Valve decided to create a platform that would update games automatically and implement stronger anti-piracy and anti-cheat measures. Through user polls at the time of Steam's announcement in 2002, Valve also recognized that at least 75% of their users had access to high-speed internet connections, which would continue to grow with planned broadband expansion in the following years, and recognized that they could deliver game content faster to players this way. Valve approached several companies to build a client with these features, including Microsoft and Yahoo, but they were declined. Failing to gain help from other third-party developers, Valve took it on themselves to solely develop Steam. The client was publicly announced at the Game Developers Conference event on March 22, 2002, and released for beta testing the same day. Almost a year and a half later, the client was officially released on September 12, 2003. Steam initially offered only Valve's games, but they soon allowed third parties to sell on the platform, with Valve taking a cut of the revenues for maintaining the storefront and content delivery. Steam eventually became the most significant way for PC gamers to acquire digital games, with Steam accounting for up to 70% of all digital sales. To this day, Steam is still Valve's #1 source of income. In 2017, Steam sales generated $4.3 billion in revenue, according to Statista.com. With the latest reports in 2019, Steam now has over 1 billion accounts and 90 million active users. In April 2020, Steam hit an all-time record of 24.5 million users online at the same time, most likely with the help of the coronavirus lockdown. Turtle Rock Studios was founded in 2002. They were hired by Valve and started working on Counter-Strike Condition Zero. The game was released in 2004. Satisfied with the work by Turtle Rock, Valve continued the relationship and hired them to work on the Xbox version of Counter-Strike, as well as the next installment of the series, Counter-Strike Source, and Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. Upon the release of Source, the company wanted to work on a new game, and they gained support from Valve. As the team had developed only competitive multiplayer games before, they wanted to design a game that encouraged and supported cooperative gameplay between players, a game that would allow friends and family to play together instead of against each other. After watching the movie 28 Days Later, a critically acclaimed zombie film, the team was inspired and used the film to brainstorm ideas for their new project. The project was later presented to Valve, which helped the game's funding and publishing. That project's name was Left 4 Dead, and its development began in 2005. Left 4 Dead was released in November of 2008 for Microsoft Windows and Xbox. On January 10, 2008, before the release of Left 4 Dead, Valve announced that it had purchased Turtle Rock in an effort to expand the company's console market. Gabe Newell added that it was an easy decision for the company to make, as they had high expectations for Left 4 Dead and considered themselves having a long-term relationship with Turtle Rock. After being acquired by Valve, Turtle Rock served as Valve's in-house satellite development team and was renamed Valve South. After some time, Turtle Rock felt that the team's communication with Valve was lacking, and they were dissatisfied with Valve and the slow progression of projects. As a result, Newell proposed that Turtle Rock to be split from Valve, and that Valve South be shut down after the shipment of Left 4 Dead. Valve retained the rights to the Left 4 Dead franchise, while allowing the name Turtle Rock and its logo to be used again by the original team. Later that year in November 2009, Valve released Left 4 Dead 2. In 2010 was a big year for Valve. Gabe decided to move the company to a new and larger office. The new office was in the same city as Valve's previous office in Bellevue, Washington. The name Bellevue is derived from the French words for beautiful view. Portal is Valve's spiritual successor to the freeware game, Narbacular Drop, a game developed in 2005 by students of the DigiPen Institute of Technology. The DigiPen team was invited to give a presentation at the Valve office. Gabe Newell was impressed and quickly offered the entire team jobs to work at Valve, and quickly begin developing Portal. Portal took approximately 2 years and 4 months to be completed, after the DigiPen team was brought into Valve, and no more than 10 people were involved with the game's development. Portal was first released as part of the Orange Box for Windows and Xbox 360 on October 10, 2007. On April 9, 2008, Portal was released as a standalone retail product. Portal received critical acclaim, often earning more praise than either Half-Life 2 or Team Fortress 2, two other titles also included in the Orange Box. It was also praised for its unique gameplay and dark humor. After the success of Portal, Valve decided to make Portal 2 a standalone game, partly because of pressure from other developers within Valve who wanted to work on a Portal product. Work began almost immediately after the release of Portal. Valve committed more resources to Portal 2's development than they had for the first game. Portal had a team of no more than 10 people, but Portal 2 had a team of 30 or 40. In March 2011, 1 month before the game's release, Gabe Newell called Portal 2, I quote, "the best game we've ever done." He also said, Portal 2 will probably be Valve's last game with an isolated single-player experience, but later stated that the use of the word probably suggests that this could change. Portal 2 was a huge success, and was accompanied by more great reviews.
TDC are moving in there now. I don't think EG are interested in contesting this 4-on-5, but maybe they can delay it long enough for it to be a 5-on-5 if they Ice Blast and Fissure properly. There is no hook shot.
They're all together. PPD, here comes the Ice Blast, ready for the dive! In from Universe! It's a disaster! CDEC! They're gonna get wiped from the face of the earth apart from aggressive. He'll jump out, but the wombo combo perfectly hits from Evil Geniuses.
In 2010, Valve hired IceFrog, the creator of the popular Warcraft 3 mod, Defense of the Ancients. IceFrog then led the development of Dota 2. In September of 2011, Valve released Dota 2 in open beta. Following nearly 2 years of beta testing, Dota 2 was officially released on Steam in July of 2013. Valve decided to use the free-to-play payment model, and in return saw great success. By 2017, Dota had 12.5 million players, and generated $406 million in revenue, according to Statista.com. At this point, Valve employed around 250 people, and was reportedly worth over $3 billion, making it the most profitable company per employee in the United States. In order to promote the game, Valve invited 16 Dota esports teams to compete at Gamescom in August 2011, which later became an annually held event known as the International. From the International 2013 onward, its prize pool began to be crowdfunded through a type of in-game battle pass called the Compendium, which raises money from players buying them, and connected loot boxes to get exclusive in-game cosmetics and other bonuses offered through them. 25% of all the revenue made from compendiums go directly to the prize pool, with sales from the 2013 Battle Pass, raising over $2.8 million, which made it the largest prize pool in esports history at the time. Each iteration of the International since then has surpassed the previous one's prize pool, with the most recent one, the International 2019, having won at over $34 million. In 2020, the Battle Pass is already along its way in beating out the 2019 Battle Pass. In 2016, Valve signed a 9-floor lease in the Lincoln Square complex in downtown Bellevue. The new 135,000 square foot office nearly doubled the space from Valve's previous headquarters. At this point, the company had over 500 employees and was still steadily growing. Some of the office features include a daycare center, gym and showers, a merchandise store and cafeteria. Valve decided to partner up with HTC, the high-tech computer corporation. They began working on a prototype and developing the Steam VR hardware system. By March 2016, at the time at which the pre-orders for the HTC Vive opened, 107 games were known to be coming to the virtual reality platform. In February 2017, Gabe Newell announced on Reddit that Valve would be developing 3 AAA VR IPs. The Valve Index was the company's first virtual reality headset developed and manufactured in-house. Development started sometime around 2015, according to interviews with staff. Announced on April 30, 2019, the headset was released 59 days later on June 28. The Valve Index sold an estimated 149,000 units in 2019, 103,000 of which were in the fourth quarter, due to the announcement of Half-Life ALYX, which buyers received for free. The sudden demand caused the unit to be sold out in all 31 countries except Japan in January 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic impacted production of the Index, which left Valve with a reduced number of units available on the release date. Half-Life ALYX entered development around February 2016. With a team comprising around 80 people, this was the company's largest production team in Valve's history, and includes Campo Santo, the studio best known for its successful game Firewatch. Half-Life ALYX takes place in the middle of the events of Half-Life and Half-Life 2. Players control ALYX vans, on a mission to seize a superweapon belonging to the Alien Combine. Valve officially announced Half-Life ALYX in November 2019. To promote the game, all prior games in the Half-Life series could be played for free on Steam from January 2020 until its release on March 23, 2020. After the launch, the game received great reviews. By April, it was one of the top 20 PC games of all time based on Metacritic scoring. Valve later confirmed that Half-Life ALYX was not the long-awaited Half-Life 3. But nonetheless, it was refreshing to see something new from the Half-Life IP. On its first day of release, Half-Life ALYX had 43,000 concurrent players. This was considered a successful launch by VR standards. The development of Artifact began in late 2014, with designer Richard Garfield being brought in to help make a digital card game, due to his experience with creating Magic: The Gathering. Artifact was first announced at the International 2017. Gabe Newell stated that it would not be free to play like Dota 2, also stating that he and the team wished for it to avoid becoming pay-to-win. Artifact was released on November 28 of 2018. The game had unusual pay-for mechanics to acquire new cards, and did not draw a large player base, losing 95% of players just 2 months after release, and making it a flop. Valve stated in March of 2020 that they were working to reboot the game, eliminate elements like the pay-for mechanics, to address several of the complaints from the initial release. Underlords. Dota Underlords is based on Dota Auto Chess, a popular community-created game mode within Dota 2. Following Dota Auto Chess's release in January 2019, it quickly became a huge success, having over 7 million players by April 2019. Valve decided to meet with the mod's developers, the Chinese-based Dota Studio, to discuss directly collaborating on a standalone version. However, the two companies were unable to come to an agreement, with them both stating that it was in their best interest to develop their own separate games, with Dota Underlords being Valve's project. The game was built using Valve's Source 2 game engine, making it the first game using that engine to be released on mobile platforms. Valve announced Dota Underlords in May 2019, with it releasing in early access as a free-to-play game on June 20, 2019. Where it saw over 1.5 million downloads and held a concurrent player count on Steam of over 200,000 within a few days. Features such as a replay system, ranked matchmaking, daily challenges and rewards, and a battle pass were added over time during its early access phase, before it officially released on February 25, 2020. It features full cross-platform play between its PC and mobile versions, with players able to freely start games on one, and finish it on another.
I can't not ask this while I'm here. What is the closest we've ever gotten to a Half-Life 3 without saying Half-Life ALYX?
What?
No?
It's the closest.
Define close.
It's part of a progression, right? I mean, for us, it
Yeah.
really is about... Half-Life games are supposed to solve interesting problems, and, you know, ALYX represents the collection of interesting problems and solutions that we can use. Like, the big gap really is because, you know, maybe we're stupid, but it didn't seem like there was an obvious, like, we don't just crank Half-Life titles out because
Thankfully not.
Because it helps us make the quarterly numbers, right? You know, it's avoid imposing that constraint on how we approach stuff. And, you know, we could be right and we could be wrong. We make mistakes, and we did Steam machines, we did, Artifact was a giant disappointment. We screw things up, and so for us, this is actually a really powerful moment for us, because this is as good as we get, right? ALYX, and we want to find out, like, are we on the right track? Like, we want people to come back and say, oh my God, the magic still is there. These guys at Valve can take this kind of experience and build something that opens our eyes as designers, that thrills us as players, that reviewers look at and say, no, this is legit. And if it's not, then that's also going to be super powerful and super useful for us. I think we've nailed it.
Finally, I'm definitely curious, what does the next 10 years of this place look like, of Valve? What are your goals and hopes for the next decade?
Go ahead.
I don't know. I definitely want to make more Half-Life. It's been really fun working on this, and I think it turned out amazing, and I think we're sort of as tooled up around that as we have been in a long time. So that's a personal goal. I really want to get to the point where some of the stuff Gabe's talking about starts to really impact us. I get to spend more time thinking about that on the game design side. I think that stuff's really exciting. And, sort of mind expanding in terms of potential around that. So
I don't know. For me, it's just the lazy technological answer around brain-computer interfaces. I mean, as a company, it's a lot of fun to work here, right? I feel like we're productive. We're continuing to grow. We have the right recipe, I think, for the long run in terms of it being a great place for people to work, which is the core to the design of the company. I think we need to crack. I think Index is a great step forward in terms of us developing as people who can use the hardware stack as part of our design palette, and I think we really need to move harder, on that. And now that we can do it, now we need to exploit it.
Do it well.
And brain